decades, Toyota pickups have been sold as the gold standard of reliability. Trucks that supposedly run forever, shrug off abuse, and laugh at high mileage. But Consumer Reports data tells a much darker story. Once these trucks cross a critical threshold, the 100,000 mile mark is where the Toyota reliability myth begins to crack, and for many owners, it completely shatters. What looks bulletproof in the first few years slowly turns into a cycle of costly repairs, declining performance, and owner regret that no one talks about at the dealership. Take the 2016 to 2020 Toyota Tacoma, a midsize truck that built its reputation on early dependability. In the beginning, owners praise it for smooth operation and low maintenance, but after 100,000 miles, the story changes fast. Transmission hesitation that once felt like a minor quirk turns into harsh, unpredictable shifting. Rear differentials begin to whine and wear prematurely. Suspension components loosen, and wheel bearings fail earlier than expected. In colder, salt-heavy regions, frame rust becomes impossible to ignore, undermining the very structure of the truck. Power steering problems start appearing at higher mileage, and suddenly that rock-solid Tacoma feels anything but. Consumer Reports data shows that owner satisfaction drops sharply after 100K, revealing that the reliability people trusted early on hides expensive long-term failures. Then there's the 2007 to 2013 Toyota Tundra, a full-size truck marketed as indestructible. Big engine, big presence, big promises. But once mileage climbs, big problems follow. One of the most infamous issues is cam tower oil leaks, a repair so expensive it can financially cripple owners who thought they were safe buying Toyota. Air injection pump failures trigger limp mode without warning, leaving drivers stranded or crawling home. Fuel consumption worsens as the engine ages. Suspension bushings and ball joints wear out far earlier than expected, and rust eats away at frames and undercarriages. Consumer Reports owner data shows repair costs spiking after 100,000 miles, proving that built tough does not mean built forever. The 2005 to 2010 Toyota Tacoma is often defended by loyalists who point to frame recalls as proof Toyota fixed everything. But Consumer Reports data and owner experiences reveal a harsher truth. Even after recall repairs, severe frame rust continues to plague these trucks past 100K miles. Automatic transmissions are widely reported as weak, leaf springs sag and crack, shocks fail, and electrical issues begin stacking up. Sensors malfunction, window motors die, dashboards develop faults. Some owners even report engine knocking at higher mileage, a nightmare scenario for a truck once praised for longevity. The recalls delayed the collapse, but they didn't stop it, and many owners are shocked to discover structural rust returning when they thought the problem was solved for good. Moving into newer territory, the 2014 to 2017 Toyota Tundra shows that more modern doesn't mean more durable. Transmission software issues start as annoying glitches but gradually turn mechanical as mileage builds. Secondary air injection systems fail, interiors wear out faster than expected for a premium priced truck, and brake and suspension replacements become frequent and expensive. Steering rack failures reported by owners add yet another costly repair to the list. Consumer Reports flags a clear reliability decline as miles climb, exposing a truck that gained technology without gaining long-term durability. Even the newest Tacoma models from 2021 to 2023 are already raising red flags before they even reach 100,000 miles. Consumer Reports data and early owner feedback point to weak automatic transmission behavior right from the start. Concerns about drivetrain and turbo stress continue to grow. Suspension components show premature wear, cooling system complaints surface, and heavy reliance on software seems to mask mechanical shortcomings rather than fix them. The troubling part isn't just what's happening now. It's what these patterns predict once these trucks age. Consumer Reports already suggest long-term reliability could be in serious question. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, the reasons Toyota pickups struggle after 100K miles become impossible to ignore. Owners trust the brand reputation so deeply that maintenance gets delayed or overlooked. Transmission designs age without meaningful updates, rust protection falls short of expectations, and small engine leaks get ignored until they turn catastrophic. Electronics, once considered Toyota's strength, now age faster than the brand's reputation suggests, adding complexity and cost to every repair. This is where owner regret starts to surface. Stories flood in from drivers who genuinely believed their truck would last forever, only to realize repairs now cost more than the truck is worth. Many Toyota owners quietly sell right after crossing the 100,000 mile mark, not because they want to, but because they're trying to escape the financial cliff ahead. The harsh reality Consumer Reports exposes is simple but uncomfortable. Reliability is not the same as durability, and once that illusion fades, everything about these trucks looks very different. Once that illusion fades, owners begin to notice how quickly the ownership experience changes. What used to feel like a dependable daily driver starts demanding attention at every service interval. Warning lights appear more often, minor noises turn into major repairs, and trips to the mechanic become routine instead of rare. Consumer Reports owner surveys show that after 100,000 miles, Toyota pickup owners report a sharp increase in unexpected repairs, the exact opposite of what they were promised when they bought into the brand's legendary image. What makes this even more frustrating is how expensive these problems are to fix. Toyota parts and labor costs are not budget friendly, and many of the failures happening after 100K miles aren't simple wear items. Transmission issues require software updates that don't always solve the problem, followed by costly mechanical repairs. Oil leaks from cam towers and engine seals demand extensive teardown work. Rust damage isn't just cosmetic, it compromises safety and resale value, leaving owners with trucks that look fine from a distance but are structurally compromised underneath. Consumer Reports data also highlights something Toyota fans rarely talk about: the emotional betrayal factor. Many owners stretch their budget specifically to buy Toyota because they believe it will save them money long term. When that promise collapses after 100,000 miles, the disappointment hits harder than it would with almost any other brand. Owners describe feeling misled, shocked, and blindsided when major failures arrive right as the truck is supposed to be entering its most useful years. Another pattern that emerges after 100K miles is declining ride quality and driving confidence. Suspensions loosen, steering becomes vague, braking performance degrades, and the truck no longer feels tight or predictable. Consumer Reports notes that even when these trucks remain technically drivable, they feel worn out far earlier than expected. This isn't what people imagine when they hear the phrase Toyota reliability, yet it's exactly what many experience in real-world ownership. Resale behavior tells an even louder story. Vehicles that truly age well are kept for the long haul, but Consumer Reports data shows a noticeable spike in Toyota pickup resale activity right around the 90K to 110K mile range. Owners aren't upgrading because they want something new. They're exiting before repair costs spiral out of control. This quiet exodus speaks volumes about long-term durability problems that don't show up in early reliability rankings. Dealers play a role in this cycle too. During the first years of ownership, service visits are minimal and inexpensive, reinforcing trust. After 100,000 miles, service recommendations multiply rapidly. Suspension refreshes, drivetrain inspections, steering repairs, rust mitigation, all adding up to thousands of dollars. Owners are suddenly faced with a choice: invest heavily in an aging truck or walk away and absorb the loss. Consumer Reports doesn't claim that every Toyota pickup will fail the same way, but the trend is clear. These trucks are engineered to feel bulletproof early on, but they don't age as gracefully as the reputation suggests. The problems don't arrive all at once. They pile up, one system at a time, creating a slow financial drain that catches owners off guard. This is where the myth becomes dangerous. Buyers assume high mileage equals low risk because the badge says Toyota. That assumption leads to overpaying in the used market, especially for trucks already approaching or crossing 100,000 miles. Consumer Reports warns that what looks like a safe bet on paper can quickly turn into a repair-heavy ownership experience, erasing any savings made at purchase. And as these issues compound, the narrative begins to shift from pride of ownership to damage control. Owners stop talking about how long their truck will last and start calculating how long they can keep it running before the next major repair hits. A mindset that completely contradicts the forever truck image that built Toyota's dominance in the pickup world. That shift in mindset is where the real exposure happens. Once owners stop asking how long the truck will last and start asking how long they can afford to keep it, the brand's reputation loses its power. Consumer Reports data shows that post 100,000 mile ownership becomes less about reliability and more about risk management. Every long drive feels like a gamble, every new noise raises anxiety, and every service visit comes with the fear of another four-figure estimate. What's especially telling is how often these problems stack on top of each other. A transmission issue doesn't exist in isolation. It arrives alongside suspension wear, steering play, and electronic faults. Oil leaks show up while rust quietly spreads underneath. Consumer Reports owner feedback repeatedly mentions that it's not one catastrophic failure that breaks these trucks. It's the relentless accumulation of expensive normal problems that were never supposed to happen this early. Toyota's early reliability scores play a major role in masking this reality. For the first 50,000 to 70,000 miles, these pickups often perform exactly as advertised. That's enough time to earn glowing reviews, strong resale values, and consumer trust. But Consumer Reports' long-term data paints a very different picture once mileage climbs. Reliability rankings based on early ownership don't fully capture what happens when these trucks enter their second and third ownership phases, where durability truly matters. Used truck buyers are often the hardest hit. Many purchase a Toyota pickup at 80,000 or 90,000 miles, believing they're buying into decades of trouble-free driving. Instead, they inherit deferred maintenance, early rust, aging transmissions, and worn suspension components that all reach their breaking point at roughly the same time. Consumer Reports warns that this creates a false sense of security in the used market, where Toyota badges command premium prices that don't always reflect long-term condition. Another uncomfortable truth emerging from owner data is how much maintenance discipline matters after 100K miles, and how unrealistic the expectations have been. Toyota pickups may tolerate neglect early on, but once they age, every skipped service interval comes back with interest. Fluid changes, rust prevention, suspension inspections, and drivetrain maintenance become critical. Many owners admit they relied too heavily on the truck's reputation, assuming it would handle it, only to face cascading failures later. Even loyal Toyota enthusiasts are starting to acknowledge the change. Forums and owner communities that once praised bulletproof longevity now include long threads about transmission complaints, rust photos, oil leak repairs, and regretful trade-ins. Consumer Reports highlights this growing disconnect between brand loyalty and lived experience, showing that trust alone can't overcome mechanical reality. As repair bills rise, owners begin making compromises. They delay fixes, live with warning lights, and accept reduced performance just to keep the truck on the road. What started as a dependable workhorse turns into a constant negotiation between cost and safety. Consumer Reports data suggests that this stage is where many Toyota pickup owners finally give up, choosing to sell or trade rather than continue sinking money into aging platforms. And this is where the 100,000-mile myth truly collapses. Not because Toyota trucks suddenly stop running, but because they stop delivering the value people paid for. Reliability without affordability is meaningless, and durability that requires endless repairs isn't durability at all. Consumer Reports exposes that once these trucks cross the six-figure mileage mark, the equation changes in ways buyers were never warned about. That warning gap is the most damaging part of the story. Buyers are rarely told that Toyota pickup ownership has two very different phases: the honeymoon period and the reality check. Consumer Reports data makes it clear that once these trucks cross 100,000 miles, ownership shifts from confidence to caution. The badge still says Toyota, but the experience no longer matches the promise. What's even more revealing is how predictable the failure patterns become. After 100K, certain problems show up again and again across different model years. Transmission behavior degrades in nearly every generation. Rust appears in the same vulnerable areas regardless of updates. Suspension components age faster than expected for trucks marketed as off-road capable and long-lasting. Consumer Reports emphasizes that consistency in complaints is not random. It points to systemic aging weaknesses, not isolated defects. Toyota's response to these issues also fuels owner frustration. Many problems fall just outside warranty coverage, leaving owners fully responsible for repairs they assumed would never happen. Technical service bulletins acknowledge issues without fully resolving them, and software updates often delay mechanical fixes rather than eliminate them. Consumer Reports owner feedback repeatedly mentions the feeling of being on their own once mileage climbs, despite years of brand loyalty. Another factor Consumer Reports highlights is how these aging problems affect safety. Worn steering racks, compromised frames, weakened suspension components, and braking system degradation all reduce driver confidence. While the truck may still run, it doesn't necessarily protect its occupants the way it once did. This quiet decline rarely makes headlines, but it directly contradicts the idea that Toyota pickups remain dependable workhorses indefinitely. As these trucks age, fuel efficiency also takes a hit. Engines that once delivered acceptable mileage begin consuming more fuel, oil, or both. Owners report topping off fluids more frequently and watching operating costs climb month after month. Consumer Reports data shows that total cost of ownership after 100,000 miles increases far faster than most buyers expect, turning a once smart purchase into a financial drain. The psychological effects shouldn't be underestimated either. Owners who once recommended Toyota pickups without hesitation now add disclaimers. They're great until about 100K. That pause says everything. Consumer Reports identifies this shift in owner sentiment as one of the strongest indicators that long-term durability is no longer what it used to be. Dealership service departments see this reality firsthand. After 100,000 miles, service visits become longer, more expensive, and more frequent. Multi-point inspections suddenly reveal lists of recommended repairs that cost more than many owners can justify. This is the moment when trust erodes completely, and the question becomes whether keeping the truck makes sense at all. And while Toyota still markets toughness and longevity, Consumer Reports data shows that marketing narratives haven't kept pace with real-world aging performance. These trucks may survive past 100K miles, but survival is not the same as thriving. The difference between running and lasting is where the reliability myth finally collapses, and where many Toyota pickup owners are forced to confront a reality they never expected. That confrontation with reality is often sudden. One major repair estimate can erase years of perceived savings in an instant. Consumer Reports documents countless owner experiences where a single post-100,000 mile failure, a transmission overhaul, a severe oil leak, steering rack replacement, or rust remediation becomes the breaking point. At that moment, the truck's legendary reputation offers no financial relief, only frustration. What makes this especially painful is that many of these trucks still look perfectly fine on the surface. Paint shines, interiors appear acceptable, engines still start reliably. But beneath that appearance, wear is accelerating. Consumer Reports stresses that cosmetic condition often hides structural and mechanical fatigue, making these trucks deceptively expensive to own as they age. Buyers and owners alike are lulled into a false sense of security until the repair bills arrive. Another issue that surfaces after 100K miles is parts dependency. Toyota pickups rely on complex assemblies rather than simple modular components. When one part fails, entire systems often need replacement. This design approach drives up labor hours and parts costs, amplifying the financial impact of aging. Consumer Reports notes that this is a key reason why repair costs rise sharply after 6 figures on the odometer, even when failures seem minor at first. Long-term owners also report a noticeable change in how the truck feels to drive. Throttle response becomes inconsistent, shifting loses smoothness, and the overall driving experience becomes less refined. These aren't failures that strand you immediately. They slowly wear down owner patience. Consumer Reports identifies this gradual erosion of quality as one of the strongest contributors to owner dissatisfaction after 100,000 miles. As these frustrations mount, loyalty weakens. Owners who once dismissed critics now find themselves questioning the brand they defended for years. Online communities that once celebrated Toyota longevity now warn new buyers to budget aggressively for post-100K ownership. Consumer Reports highlights this shift as a rare but telling moment, when a brand's most loyal customers begin publicly advising caution. The used market reflects this change as well. While Toyota pickups still command strong prices, Consumer Reports data shows that informed buyers are becoming more selective, avoiding high-mileage examples or demanding significant discounts. Sellers who expected effortless resale at any mileage are now discovering that 100,000 miles is no longer a selling point. It's a negotiation hurdle. All of this leads to a fundamental reassessment of what reliable truly means. Consumer Reports doesn't argue that Toyota pickups are the worst trucks on the road. Instead, it exposes the gap between expectation and reality. These trucks may avoid early disasters, but long-term durability requires more than just surviving the first decade of use. As the miles continue to climb, owners are left managing a truck that still runs but no longer inspires confidence. Every repair feels like a question mark. Every service visit feels like a gamble. And that uneasy ownership experience is the clearest signal yet that the Toyota reliability myth doesn't end with a breakdown. It fades slowly, mile by mile, long after the odometer rolls past 100,000. That slow fade is exactly why Consumer Reports findings matter so much. There's no dramatic moment when these trucks suddenly stop working. Instead, there's a steady erosion of trust. Each repair chips away at the belief that this was the safe choice, until owners realize they're no longer enjoying the truck, they're simply maintaining it. One of the most overlooked consequences of post-100,000 mile problems is how they limit what owners are willing to do with the truck. Towing capacity feels theoretical when transmission behavior is unpredictable. predictable. Off-road capability loses its appeal when suspension components are already worn. Long road trips become stressful instead of effortless. Consumer Reports notes that functional confidence drops sharply even if the truck technically remains capable on paper. Financially, the situation becomes even more complicated as depreciation and repair costs collide. High mileage reduces trade-in value at the same time ownership costs rise. Owners often face a dilemma: invest thousands to restore performance or accept lower resale value and move on. Consumer Reports data shows many choose the latter, quietly exiting ownership rather than doubling down on an aging platform. Another revealing trend is how differently these trucks age compared to expectations set by earlier generations. Older Toyotas built their reputation on simplicity and durability, but modern pickups rely heavily on electronics, software, and tightly packaged components. Consumer Reports highlights that this complexity accelerates aging, especially once warranties expire. What once could be fixed cheaply now requires specialized diagnostics and expensive parts. This shift also impacts independent mechanics. Many report that post-100K Toyota pickup repairs are no longer straightforward, driving owners back to dealerships where labor rates are higher. Consumer Reports owner feedback frequently mentions feeling trapped, loyal to the brand, but burdened by the cost of keeping it on the road. As these realities spread, the narrative around Toyota pickups is quietly changing. The trucks still start every morning, but they no longer deliver peace of mind. Owners talk less about how long they'll keep them and more about timing their exit. Consumer Reports sees this as a critical signal that durability expectations have fundamentally shifted, and perhaps the most telling sign is how often owners compare notes after the fact. Conversations that start with "I thought it was just mine" turn into shared experiences of similar failures at similar mileages. When patterns repeat across generations and body styles, the myth loses its credibility. This isn't about hating Toyota or denying past achievements. It's about acknowledging that surviving to 100,000 miles is no longer the benchmark it once was. Consumer Reports exposes that the real test begins after that point, and for many Toyota pickups, that's where the promise quietly falls apart, leaving owners to confront a truth that was never part of the sales pitch.